Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abby, and today we are sitting down with Taylor Firo. He's the operations manager at Switchboard Media, and we are talking about so much on this podcast. We get into Switchboard, we talk about Switchboard's podcast, which kind of has a similar concept to the Small Town Tourist. They just sit down and talk to interesting people directly in the St. Cloud area, so we get into that. We actually recorded this podcast at the Apiary, which is a very cool co-working space that exists in downtown St. Cloud. We talk about Taylor's involvement with that as well. And the real reason I asked Taylor to be on the podcast was actually to talk about Cloud Coffee Fest, which is coming up this weekend already if you're listening to the podcast on the day that it drops. Cloud Coffee Fest is happening September 14th in St. Cloud. Free to attend. All the details are down in the show notes below. If you missed out on it and you're listening to this podcast after it happened, don't worry. It'll be happening again next year too. This event is really becoming a huge staple in the St. Cloud area. And I'm so happy we had Taylor to sit down and talk to us about it today. So please enjoy our time hanging out with Taylor and covering this wide variety of topics today on the podcast. I have everyone give their name, where they're from, and what they do.
Nice. Hey, everybody. I'm Taylor. I grew up in Princeton, Minnesota. My wife and I moved here about 14 years ago to go to college at St. Cloud State and fell in love with the place. And as opportunities have kind of presented themselves, we're stuck here in the best kind of ways. My main, my day job is operations manager at Switchboard Advertising. But I have two other business partners, and we own several businesses together. So I often find myself with my hands in a lot of things.
My kind of person to be around, because I also find myself involved in quite a few things.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about Switchboard to start out. What is Switchboard? What do you guys do? And I follow you on Instagram, so I have a general idea. But
sure.
For anyone who's just like, what's Switchboard?
Yeah, for the thousands and thousands of people listening. Switchboard is a full-service marketing agency. I think if we were in the cities, we'd call ourselves more of like a design branding shop. But I think it just makes more sense, the language here, to use a marketing agency. We have four main buckets at Switchboard. We do video, photos, branding, and websites. Branding can include anything from logos to how your business communicates to the colors we use throughout your brand. So branding is quite a larger bucket. And over the next few months, we'll actually be heading into some more like online strategy as far as like social media goes, where and how to spend money on different marketing efforts and advertising efforts. So, yeah.
Cool. So let's use the Small Town Tourist as an example. I am a very DIY person. Mm-hmm. I made my own logo, all that stuff. Say I come to you and I'm like, I need help. I need a revival. What can you do for me?
Yeah. You're asking me to step out of my lane here. As the operations manager at Switchboard, my job is to make sure that all the projects flow smoothly, they stay on time, that the correct people are doing the correct things. As we hire, making sure that those people fit our culture and have the skill sets we need to grow our business. As far as planning and strategizing and branding goes, it's not me you'd be talking to. I have two other business partners, Guy Magno and Ryan Sheff. This is their lane.
Okay.
So not to shoot your question down.
No, but that's actually a great answer to the question. There's a team dedicated to helping people.
So our team is, we have 9 people on our team. We have several different creatives. So we have a few designers, a few videographers and photographers. And then he's a creative director / salesperson. And then we have another salesperson as well on our team. The 9 of us work really, really hard just to figure out what your specific needs would be. And then each plan is customized to your specific needs. I think that's one of our favorite things about this world is that there isn't endless tools you can create for specific companies, but how you use those tools is unlimited. I think that we have just as much fun shooting a big, giant $20,000 brand video as we do coming into your place of work and figuring out how do you communicate better online. I think we have really fun with long relationships that are 12, 18-month contracts. And we also have fun hey, you need some really good headshots of your team. Let's figure out how to tell your business's story through a few headshots. I think that's the most fun and exciting thing about our industry is like there's not a ton of tools, but there's a lot of different ways to use those tools.
That is such a wide array of things, from
Yeah.
headshots to $20,000 brand videos.
Yeah. And they're both important in their own different ways. And I think figuring out how to tell our clients' stories the best through all of those avenues is I think what sets agencies apart from each other. Like we're not just trying to make $1. We're trying to make $1, but also make you $5 with that dollar. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys also have your own podcast. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's called Chit Chat, a Switchboard podcast. There was a few different reasons why we started it. It actually used to be called Neighbor 9 years ago. Secret's out. What we wanted, our original idea was like, can we find people in St. Cloud that maybe no one's heard of, but plays a really special role in the city of St. Cloud? And then like tell their story for the world to hear, or whoever wants to listen. Because of a bunch of other things that were going on, it never kind of got started. But the idea of sitting down with someone who plays a special role in St. Cloud has always been on our heart and been something we've always wanted to promote and focus on. And Chit Chat, because of our business connections and because our client connections, we kind of had an avenue of like, oh, could we sit down with business owners? Could we sit down with people that play vital roles in businesses and in a particular interest or a particular passion for the business world? Could we sit down with them and just help tell their story? There's a lot of people in St. Cloud that are working really hard to make St. Cloud a better place. And so the stories are endless. We also happen to really love businesses and running businesses. And it's like, what an awesome opportunity to be able to learn more from people who work all the time without people seeing them or people noticing them. They work behind the scenes and tell their story and get to be a part of that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
So what have been some of your favorite podcasts that you guys have done? Who are the people that stand out in your mind like, oh, that was such a good episode?
I think it was fun to be able to have the mayor of St. Cloud on our podcast right away. I think the timing was just fortuitous and it just worked out for him to be on it. That gentleman can talk and he is incredibly passionate about St. Cloud. It's sad to see him go, but I'm also excited to see a new face at the helm of St. Cloud.
Mayor Kleiss has served this town so well.
Yeah, he's done a really great job. And I think there's something about how long his term was that he was able to walk out his plans in a different kind of way, where most people in his position don't get that long to do that. And so I think he was fortunate, and he absolutely tried very, very hard to serve this area. So that was an exciting one to have. Have you heard of Blacklight Adventure?
Yeah, over by like Miller Auto, right?
Yeah, by Miller Auto. They are doing really special things over there. We were able to have Jay and his wife started Blacklight Adventure. And often those places can be like, because you have a bunch of sweaty kids running around, they can often be like stinky and slimy.
Right.
And you go in there and it is not stinky or slimy, and it actually smells good. And they're expanding here soon, so whatever they're doing is working. And I think it's really, really cool when a couple or some business partners go into a project like that, where you have a certain understanding of how it works and how it runs, and they do it just a little bit differently, and it makes a giant difference. And so it was sweet just to hear his story and his passion for that world and to think about it better and think about doing it better.
Well, what a great thing that they're providing for the community, because I can open up Facebook right now, open up the St. Cloud community page and go, where do I go for a kid's birthday party in St. Cloud? And it's like, there's a great option for you right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, thinking about how to do businesses better and neater and less smelly is
especially when you're catering to those kids.
Is a plus. Yep.
That's amazing. We'll be sure to link the podcast that you guys do in the show notes below. Yeah. Where we're recording right now, the beauty of the Small Town Tourist is every episode sounds different because I'm recording every episode in a different location. Yeah. We are hanging out at the Apiary in downtown St. Cloud today. Tell me a little bit about this incredible space. I've been staring across the street at it for almost a year now, working with Babies on Broadway. Yeah. What's a co-working space? What is this spot that we're in?
Yeah, believe it or not, we stole this idea from Minneapolis and the nation. Co-working's been around for quite a while. It's basically an office rental done a little bit differently and a little bit more creatively. Oftentimes, people who run businesses who have a small business find themselves in a few different situations. They are renting way too big of a space and way too big of a conference room that they use once or maybe twice a week, if you're generous. And they're spending an obscene amount of money for that conference room that they're never using, and the internet that they only use for a few hours a week, or meeting spaces, or even their own office. And they find themselves that they're spending a little bit too much there, or they're having to meet clients at coffee shops, or working at home, and their dog is barking in the background and their kids are running all over them, which every once in a while is kind of fun and nice, and it makes you feel connected to your home. But after a while, sometimes that stuff just gets old and hard. And the nice thing about co-working is you're splitting all of those amenities. The conference room that you're only using twice a week, you're not paying for all of it. And the internet, you're not paying for all of that. And you're getting to split the utilities. And so the burden on your business, especially if you're a brand new business, is much lower. And you still get all the professional amenities and meeting spaces that you're used to, that big, giant businesses get to have. And so we actually started Cooper Collective, I want to say it's been maybe almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so we have been doing co-working for a while. Switchboard, on the other hand, kind of wanted to start looking at how do we invest into downtown. We really believe in downtowns and how I don't think you can think of cool, thriving city if it doesn't have a thriving downtown. And so as our business was growing and we were kind of filling up our space at Cooper Collective, it was like, why don't we think about how do we get ourselves downtown and be a part of this community? After talking with Mayor Kleiss, also, like there's a ton of resources that are coming our way to reinvest into downtown. Every time we talk about people in the downtown community, it feels like something fun and that we'd like to be a part of. And so we started mulling on that idea. And through some conversations, through some random lunch meetings, we found out that the Apiary downtown was for sale, or the owner was thinking about selling it. And so we started the conversation. They had done an incredible job of building out the space, putting their blood, sweat, tears, and money into the space, and it looks incredible. And so as we started to talk about numbers and if we could make this work, the numbers made sense, and we wanted to be down here anyways. And so one of the biggest investments we've ever made, and we weren't particularly nervous about it because all the numbers made sense, and it was something we'd been wanting to do for a while. So we pulled the trigger and moved downtown in May.
It's an incredible space. Like, I have just observed it from across the street, like I said, and walking in here, I was literally just blown away by the office spaces are professional and modern and updated and clean, and it's a bright, beautiful space. Yeah. There's the full kitchen in the back. There's 2 levels to this thing, and you guys are working on a 3rd. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, the previous owners did an incredible job, and we're so fortunate and lucky that we had the opportunity to take it over.
Yeah. So what does, like, if, say, my small business of my podcast production company, I'm kind of in that spot where it's like, I'm meeting people at coffee shops for initial meetings. It's getting to the point where I'm going to need a space sooner, probably rather than later. Yeah. What would it look like if I came to you and said, hey, I want to be part of this. How do I get in?
Yeah. So we have a few different options for memberships. We have a private office, which is $550 a month. I bet you the private offices are around 100, 120 square feet each. Like you said, they're nice, professional, clean. And then with that comes 100% access, 24/7 access to all of our amenities. And so you get the internet, we have 3 different conference rooms that you can use. We have the meeting space in the kitchen, like a nice big kitchen, so you can have some little networking events during the day. And then we also have, we call them designated desks. Those are more for the people that they have a lot of meetings at coffee shops, and so they might not be ready for their own private office, but they still need a place to leave their stuff and have access to a conference room. And so that's $450 a month. And then we do have drop-in rates. So if you still would like to work from home and you'd still like to work at coffee shops, but every once in a while you just have too big of a client meeting that it doesn't make sense to work at a coffee shop, we have drop-in rates where you can just hop in and use our conference room by the hour or use a desk for the day. We do have flexible options like that. Our favorite, just because we care a ton about this community, is the private office options. We think investing into a spot is important. Investing into community is important. and you being here for a full year, being able to collaborate and work with the people that are in our community is super important, and we've seen a ton of benefits from that as well.
And there's something to be said for having a designated meeting spot with people, because I run into that all the time, especially with this podcast. Like, where would it work to record for you?
Right.
I mean, you can come to my house, but you probably don't want to. Like, just being able to say, this is where I'm headquartered out of. Like, that's huge. And being downtown, easy access.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, makes total sense.
That's so cool. So if people want to get more information from you, stop by, take a tour.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Reach out on your guys' website.
Yeah, our website's a great place to go. Also, shoot me an email, taylor@switchboard.mn.
Okay, cool. Now, the initial topic that I wanted Taylor on to talk about today was Cloud Coffee Fest, which is coming up here in just a few weeks. So give us a little background. What is Cloud Coffee Fest? I know it's been around for a couple of years now, but if people are just hearing about this and go, coffee, what?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard, but every other day it seems like a new coffee shop is opening up in the area, which for us is so exciting. Minneapolis has done a great job of building a coffee culture. We wanted to be a part of building St. Cloud's coffee culture. So in 2019, we started pushing forward in opening up a coffee shop. I don't know if you remember this, but in March of 2020, COVID hit. We were deep emotionally and with our resources and time into launching Kinder Coffee Lab. But once COVID came, it was like, there's no way we can push forward here. But because we were so emotionally invested, we were like, is there a way we could pivot and during this time of uncertainty, figure out how to still launch a coffee brand? We stumbled upon this really cool roaster from a company named Bellwether that kind of sparked the idea of, could we just start a roasting company for now? I don't know about you, but during COVID, I still needed to drink coffee.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't go away. Yeah, that doesn't go away with COVID. And so we're like, what if we just roasted coffee and shipped coffee directly to people's houses? And so we did that for, I bet you, 18 months until we started figuring out how could we navigate this new reality inside of COVID. People started to figure out how to comfortably go outside and to approach restaurants. And so we're like, in October of 2021, it was like, oh, I bet you we could break ground and start building our coffee shop. And so in February of 2022, we launched Kinder Coffee Lab. Shortly after our coffee shop, Corpy came around, then Eminent Roasting Company came. There was a couple coffee trucks in the area as well. And it was like, oh man, like coffee's really booming in St. Cloud. How can we capture all this attention and let everyone know that like, we're in this together as a coffee culture? Yes, we're absolutely competitors, but there's a lot of coffee drinkers out there. And so we came about it not from a scarcity mentality, but an abundance mentality of like, could we band together and bang the drum for local coffee as opposed to regional and national coffee chains? And so we met with a group of local coffee roasters and coffee shops and said, could we put together an event that did this well for all of us and put us all in the same location in one day? And so I think our hope for Cloud Coffee Fest was it was going to be a big farmers market. We worked really, really hard. Switchboard used their resources, our resources, to promote it all over the internet as best we could. And the response was nuts our first year. Thousands of people showed up. I don't know. It's hard to track how many people showed up to our event.
Yeah, you don't have someone standing in the parking lot with a
but
clicker.
It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming in the best kind of ways. The response was incredible. It seemed like St. Cloud really wanted this, and it answered a question maybe we didn't even know we were asking, that we just want a larger, more mature coffee culture in St. Cloud. And so with the response, it was like, we're for sure, before the event ended, we're like, we're for sure doing this next year because this turned out so great. And so I think we owe a lot to the craft beer culture and how we're approaching this event. Craft beer in general has pursued collaboration and togetherness in how they've grown since 2011, 2012. They've never seen each other as competitors. They've thrown parties together. They've gone after Budweiser and the Anheuser-Busch's of the world and not each other.
Right.
And then they threw really cool events. I had gone to a couple and I was like, this is something we could emulate in the coffee world. And so I think every year we've taken strides to get closer to what a beer fest feels like and seems like. It's just, there doesn't have to be alcohol involved at 8 in the morning. And
Which
caffeine
is a
is
bold comment
also
for Central Minnesota.
Yeah, right. Caffeine is also something that we really love and enjoy. And so I think we owe a lot to the craft beer events, and it's really worked out the last couple of years. We keep it family friendly. We have bouncy houses and tattoos, and we've tried this year to gravitate a little bit more towards like roasters. There's a fixed nature to brick and mortar coffee shops. And so we for sure have coffee shops in our event, but roasters, there's a scalability to it, an ability to like reach into different regions. And so we thought it'd be really fun for roasters from way up north in Minnesota or out east in Wisconsin and to like kind of like regionally grow the event. And so we started inviting roasters because they can ship beans directly to your door. And so you get to experience coffee you've never seen.
Right.
But there's still local small coffee roasters, which we thought was super fun.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So where is this event taking place this year?
Yeah, so this is going to be in the parking lot of Kinder Coffee Lab, 203 Cooper Avenue North in St. Cloud. We've had it there for all 3 years. I don't know if we can have it there a fourth year because it just keeps getting bigger. But there's something about being outside on a crisp fall morning and having warm, delicious coffee that like you can't replicate in a place like the Rivers Edge Convention Center, although we might be forced to do that at some point.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, alternate option, everyone sets up around Lake George. There's
That's
a
a good
thought.
option. That's a good option.
But what a cool thing to just bring everyone together, community over competition. There is so much amazing coffee in the area.
Absolutely.
Eminent Roasters was just on the podcast last week, if you're listening in chronological order.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are doing something really amazing, bringing people from this area, the state as a whole, the Midwest region. I think that's incredible. It's just going to expand everyone's palates and eyes and help with everyone's social media followings as well. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Minneapolis is doing some really cool things with coffee. I'd love for St. Cloud to catch up and do it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Can we just talk about your logo for a quick second on the Cloud Coffee? The pigeon with the coffee cups.
Yeah.
So dang cute.
Yeah.
So Switchboard made that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Ryan's work, and it's fun and memorable, and I don't know of any other pigeons that are in a brand, and so it's unique, and we really like it.
What was the inspiration behind that? Just saw a pigeon, it's like, that pigeon needs a cup of coffee.
Yeah. So long story short, we are designing logos all the time that get rejected for good reasons or for bad. And sometimes when they get rejected and we loved them, we save them for ourselves. And so this was for a previous project that it just didn't end up working out. They didn't like the logo, and so we use it. Yeah.
You guys commandeered a good one.
Yeah.
Like when I see that billboard go up in the summer and I'm driving down Division, I'm like, oh, the pigeon's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So fun. So this is free to the public to attend, right? No tickets to get in?
No tickets to get in, free admission. We do have an unlimited sample mini mug that you can purchase. Each vendor will have their twist on drip coffee. So whether that's through a V60 like pour over situation, or legitimate drip coffee, like out of a coffee machine, or I think there is going to be some fun different versions of drip coffee that people are doing. And the fun thing about coffee is it is a science, but your twist on science, your artistic ability to make it unique and different, I think you'll see that flexed at the event, and having that unlimited sample mug will allow you to taste all those different things.
Very cool.
Turkish coffee. Someone at the event is doing Turkish coffee.
What is Turkish coffee?
Good question. You should come to the event and find out.
Turkish coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
That's their interest.
Yeah, that's their free sample that they're giving out. So
interesting. Okay. Something very fun to look forward to.
Yeah. Austin Acres is going to be doing that. So.
Okay. And we will be sure we link all of this in the show notes below. Easy access to get to the Cloud Coffee website and all that. So wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for inviting me in here, sharing all these stories.
Thanks for the opportunity to share.
I'm infatuated with this place. I'm so glad that I got to see the inside of it.
That's sweet. That's sweet of you to say.
Anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
Thanks everyone for listening. I'm really excited for Cloud Coffee Fest in a couple weeks here. Thanks for the opportunity to be on the podcast and share. Really enjoy what we're doing, and I'm excited for what you have in the future.
Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast. All the links for everything we mentioned in the show today are down in the show notes below, so be sure you take some time to check that out. If you're looking for more content from The Small Town Tourist, you can always find me at The Small Town Tourist on Instagram and on Facebook, and check out the blog, thesmalltowntourist.com. I will catch you next week.